So hi, my name is Signa, and today we're from this side and we will be providing that this 3 strikes law should be amended so that the 3rd strike is a violent felony. So first of all, what is the 3 strike law? Well, like in baseball, the saying 3 strikes and you're out applies. The 3 strike law was passed in 1994, and it states that after 2 convictions, if you are convicted again of a serious criminal offense, you receive a mandatory life sentence. Why change the 3 strikes law? Well, the 3 strikes law has led to unintended consequences like 1, prison overcrowding, 2, strain on courts and prison systems, 3, escalating costs in the present and long term, and 4, because the 3 strike law is vague and it is unjust in many cases. This brings me to my first point, that the 3 strikes law has contributed to prison overcrowding. According to the Legislative Analyst's Office in 2005, they stated that since 1994, the courts have sent over 80,000 second strikers and 7,500 third strikers to state prison. As of December 31st, 2004, there were almost 43,000 inmates serving time in prison under the 3 strikes law, making up about 26% of the total prison population. If you don't think this is bad, John Biskup in USA Today reported an article about that the Supreme Court declared California's prison overcrowding unconstitutional, and it upheld by an order of a 5-4 vote that would force or transfer the release of more than 30,000 convicted felons over the next 2 years. The massive prison buildup in California in recent decades is a result of overly punitive policies such as the 3 strikes and you're out. This brings me to my second point, that the 3 strikes law has caused strain on courts. The Legislative Analyst's Office also stated that the rate of felony cases decided by jury trial increased 10% after the enactment of the 3 strikes law. Joe Mercelli made a good point in 2012, and he stated that an arrest of someone with 2 convictions almost guarantees the cost and the time of trial. If he is guaranteed to a 25 to life sentence, what's the point of pleading guilty? This makes a lot of sense because, think about it, if a convicted felon already has 2 strikes against him, what's the point of pleading guilty when he will automatically receive a 25 to life sentence? He'd rather take his chances in trial and have that slight chance of being found innocent. This brings me to my third point, where the 3 strikes law is expensive, and it will continue to be in the future. The editors in Bloomberg in 2011 stated that the cost of imprisoning 9 nonviolent 3 strike offenders for 25 years is $4.8 billion. The Pew Center states in February 2008 came out with an article that showed that the undisputed leader is California, for spending total up to $8.8 billion, talking about 2007, on the correctional system. Elsa Chen from the Journal of Contemporary Criminal Justice in 2008 also stated that the escalating costs in the long term are affected because prisoners grow older and require more expensive care. They also stated that the average cost associated with an older prisoner is about $70,000, 2 or 3 times that of a younger prisoner. This makes another point kind of think about, that if we're sending all these offenders to jail for 25 to life, that means that they're staying there until they die. So, and also an article stated that under the 1976 U.S. Supreme Court case, Estelle versus Gamble, the states are compelled to provide a constitutionally adequate level of medical care, or care that generally meets a community standard. So all these prisoners that are there for life, we have to provide medical care for them, or else that's considered a cruel and unusual punishment. The Pew Center states in 2008 also stated that there's a lot of diseases that spread quickly in an overcrowded prison environment, such as tattooing, piercing, unprotected sex, and in drug use. This brings me to my 4th point, that the 3 strikes law is unjust. The William Driscoll International Debate Education Association stated in 2003 that the U.S. Supreme Court found that the 3 strikes law was constitutional in a 5-4 split decision. Now, if you think about it, it's a 5-4 split, so it was very controversial, and this topic is still being debated today. So He also stated that one of the fundamental principles of the criminal justice is the punishment that should fit the crime. The principle is abandoned when the life sentence is automatically imposed for a third felony. So sometimes in some cases, a prisoner that has committed a violent offense, like rape or anything like that, he'll be sentenced to 25 to life. And also a third striker that's committed a robbery will be also sentenced to 25 to life, which kind of is unbalanced. Some cases that, under the three strikes law, that are unjust are a Joy Fernandez that was sentenced to 25 to life for aiding someone who stole baby formula and Tylenol. His prior strikes were robbery and attempted robbery, which were non-violent offenses. The Standard Law School Three Strikes Project was working with Gregory Taylor, who in 1997 was sentenced to life for breaking into a church soup kitchen to take food that he knew that the church would happily give him. He was homeless at the time and was sentenced to 25 to life, but was later reduced in sentence because he fought it, which was very rare because the judge recognized that there was a mistake in his case. Other cases that fall under the unjust category vary and also show that the three-strike law is unbalanced and unjust. It is written very vaguely and does not provide specifics into how to organize criminal offenders, and this is why we have an overly crowded prison population where we have petty offenses and also criminals that have committed serious offenses under the same prison. This brings me to my conclusion that amending the three-strike law so that the third offense is a violent felony would improve California in the ways that it would help reduce prison population. It would filter the prison population so that the dangerous and violent prisoners are locked away for life, and prisoners with petty offenses would serve the time that fits their crime and then are released. Also, it would help reduce the strain on courts and help reduce costs, and modifying the law would also make it less vague and justifiable.